Hi, Bill Johnson, Featherweight guy. Wanted to talk to you about little things, because sometimes it's the little things that make the difference between a decent job and a really nice job. And so I wanted to describe a number of the little things that I do when I'm restoring a featherweight, just so you can appreciate the attention to detail that I apply to these things. This, by the way, is Audrey. Audrey is from 1953. She's not yet listed on the site, but will be in a little bit when I finish working on her. So she's my stand-in model for today. Let's talk about starting with the cleaning. Now, when I take a featherweight apart, you've seen on perhaps one of my other videos, I show the 200 plus parts that come off a featherweight when I'm restoring it. And every one of those parts gets cleaned and polished. But then when you're left, after you got all the parts out, is the main body with the horizontal main shaft up here. There is a shaft in the bottom here and a vertical shaft with gears on it that connects the upper and lower shafts. Those stay in the machine. And it's very difficult to get everything completely clean in the machine. I use a combination of a rotary tool with wire brushes, and I buy these swabs on wooden sticks that I can reach in and so forth to clean. But it's still hard to get all of the grit and grime out of there. And I really want to get it spotlessly clean inside and out, because all of that is accumulated grit and dirt and lint and everything nasty, all of which can contribute to friction and is prone to getting into the moving parts and creating problems for the machine. So these are machines are generally 60 to 90 years old that I'm working on, and so it's really important to me to get everything clean. So I get everything I can reach with the tools I've just described to you, but then I go to a kerosene wash. I go over to the sink, and inside of a tub I pour some kerosene, which is the only solvent, by the way, that Singer ever recommended for use on a sewing machine. And kerosene is actually a very, very lightweight oil. It's what when people had oil light back in the second half of the 1800s, when oil lamps were what you had in the home before there was electricity, you were burning kerosene. It's an oil, and actually does provide a limited amount of lubrication as well. So that's what Singer recommended, and that is the solution that I use to wash out the inside of a featherweight. I use artist brushes with long handles so that I can get in there and scrub around. And then I have a squirt bottle that I can squirt around on the inside to get it completely rinsed out with fresh kerosene. And then I take it out to my outside workshop where I have a compressor, and I use compressed air and blow out all the residue kerosene. So that's how I get the body clean. That's one thing I wanted to talk about. In another video, I describe how I encase this wiring from the light down to the power block in its original lead sheath that I wrap in heat shrink tubing. And that's explained elsewhere, but I wanted you to know about that. I also, on all of these bare metal parts, these are the rocker shafts that control the feed dog height and the feed dog motion back and forth. And I clean those in an ultrasonic parts cleaner, and then I take them to a wire wheel or use wire wheels on my rotary tool and get them clean. But to provide rust protection, I use a product called fluid film, which was actually created by the U.S. Army, I think, in the World War II era, and it works great. I get it in this jar with a built-in brush. I brush on a small amount and get it into all the little cracks and crevices, and then I wipe off the excess. And this provides excellent corrosion protection. So any of the bare metal parts that are not plated, and there are a number of them in a featherweight, I treat with fluid film. The motors, when I work on the motor on a featherweight, it gets, in addition to new wires that come out of the motor body and down to the power block, there's a rubber grommet where the wire exits the body of the motor. I replace that rubber grommet. And the brushes, which are on the top and bottom of the motor, and that's how the power is transmitted through the commutator bars to the armature in the motor. The brushes are a wear item in here, and while the brushes are often in pretty good shape with a lot of wear left on them, I always replace the brushes. It's not an expensive part. It's under 10 bucks. I think it might even be half of that. But I want this machine to leave my shop in like new condition, and that means wear items I'm going to replace. So it's going to have new brushes in it that I get from the Featherweight shop. I also do some small things like the thread cutters which mount on the presser arm here are meant to be able to take your thread, and there's a sharp edge on the top here. And I actually take those off and I sharpen them with a diamond whetstone, a 1000 grit diamond stone. So the thread cutter on a machine that I restored is going to be razor sharp. All right, let's talk a little bit about the cases. Now for me, the case is not an afterthought. In fact, on some of these machines, I think I spend as much time cleaning up and repairing and getting a nice finish on the cases as I do on the machines. So one of the things, in addition to the repair and finishing of the machine, is that I put into the bottom a piece of double thickness cardboard. And this is exactly what Singer did from the factory. In fact, the dimensions of this are exactly as I've found. A few of these cases have the original factory cardboard that Singer put in there. And if you look carefully, it's double wall, double thickness cardboard. So whenever I get boxes of things that have been shipped to us in a double thickness cardboard box, I save that cardboard because I can then cut these bottom pieces that fit in. And the reason this works well is when the Featherweight is in there, it's like this. And it is no longer, the weight is no longer borne by these 4 rubber feet, or bed cushions as they're correctly called. Instead, the weight is now spread over the whole body of the machine. So it does a better job of protecting the machine and preventing those rubber feet from getting crushed. And if you look at a lot of the Featherweights in their as-found condition, the feet are actually crushed from just 50 years of sitting in a case, and that rubber eventually compresses and gives way. So if you leave this piece of cardboard in your case, you're actually doing your bed cushions, your feet, a favor. The other things I supply, in your case you see this, the accessories set, which in the newer ones, that was, you know, like the 1950s and beyond, they're in a green box. And so here is one of the green boxes in very rough condition. This box would not leave my shop. It's not good enough. So when the green boxes are bad like that, I buy the ones that come from the Featherweight shop that are a replica. And of course, they're not exactly. The Featherweight shop uses rickrack on everything, and so they've replaced what Singer had with a printed border. They have a rickrack border on the Featherweight replaces. But these make a really nice. They're the exact dimensions of an original one. Here's an original one, and so it makes a good solution for that. The accessories is another thing. I run these all through my ultrasonic cleaner. Sometimes pieces are bent. I straighten that all up, and then I lubricate them. In particular, the ruffler, which has a bunch of moving parts, gets a full set of service. So everything leaving my shop is going to work and be in good condition. And then finally, the screwdrivers. Singer provided 2 screwdrivers with every Featherweight. The larger loop screwdriver and the smaller one. This is the one you need to adjust the tension on the bobbin case. It's a small screwdriver. It's perfectly sized for that. So I supply both of those screwdrivers. I'm always buying them on eBay when I see them, because many of the machines, when I acquire them, the screwdrivers are either missing or they might have been replaced with wrong ones. So I provide the right ones. And I also take files and I refile the tips. Sometimes the tips are damaged or rounded off and they won't engage the screws well. So it's another one of those little things, is to clean up the tips of the screwdrivers. By the way, the cases, except for the white Featherweights, the cases all have a lockable latch, and I'm in the habit of finding keys. I'm always looking for keys for these cases so that I can supply you when you get the Featherweight. There's going to be a key for the case, and the locks actually work. I've lubricated the locks and they work as well. So there's a few of the little things that I do to a Featherweight. Thank you.